This is a die-cast model of the 1997 Chevrolet Corvette C5 Coupe. As best I know, the C stands for Corvette and the 5 for the fifth generation, encompassing the years 1997 to 2005. I believe it would have been the summer of 1997. I was living and working in Halifax. On a particular sunny afternoon, I was walking down Roby Street, and as I passed by Scotia Oregon Chevrolet, I saw a red sports car in the showroom window and decided to go in and have a look at my first live C5. I entered and introduced myself to the sales staff as a Chevrolet fan, and they generously granted my request to have a look around, and then they left me to my own devices. One of the things that struck me was the lowness of the hood. I knew that the car sported a 5.7-liter V8 engine called the LS1, and I was aware of the approximate height and shape of what such an engine should look like, but what I was seeing didn't fit the mold. I wondered how they could stuff a V8 underneath that hood with such a low profile. I circled the car a number of times and then decided to exit so as not to wear out my welcome. I could have asked the sales people about my puzzlement, but I didn't. I was later to learn the solution, though, from a red-covered paperback book written by one of the developmental engineers at Chevrolet entitled All Corvettes Are Red. The C5 introduced at least three major innovations. One of them I will talk about here because it's relevant to the story. Generally speaking, an engine has an oil pan underneath to collect and store lubricating oils when the engine isn't running. But the LS1 employs a dry sump system, which I believe is adapted from racing, where the lubricants are stored in the reservoir outside of the engine to be pumped back in on startup. I believe, but I'm not sure, that the reservoir is attached to the inside front fender. So the LS1 doesn't have a regular oil pan. And what would the height of a standard oil pan be? Well, perhaps 8 inches or 20 centimeters. And that's an extra height that the LS1 doesn't have. So that's how you stuff a V8 underneath the low profile of a C5 Corvette. Mystery solved. This is my entire collection of C5 models. In description, starting from the left and moving clockwise, is the 1999 hardtop in blue. In behind, in the back, facing forward, in purple with yellow trimmings, is a replica of the 1998 Indianapolis 500 pace car. Beside it is the 1997 Coupe in red, which you have already seen. Then on the right, in yellow, is the 2003 Z06 hardtop with the LS6 engine, developing 405 horsepower and similar numbers of foot-pounds of torque. You could think of horsepower as the force that propels you towards your top speed, whereas torque is the force that generates your rate of acceleration. To put it another way, if you wanted to set a land speed record, you would want lots of horsepower. But if you were involved in a quarter-mile drag race, you would like loads of torque. And finally, in front, in gray, top in place, is a 1998 convertible. Since 2020, we have been in the era of the C8 generation with its mid-mounted 6.2-liter V8 engine. Also this year in 2024 marks the 70th anniversary of Corvette. Throughout its history, it has been faced with cancellation any number of times, but it just keeps on ticking. Only a few days ago, I watched a video on YouTube which seemed to suggest the Corvette was almost ready to unleash its new E-Ray with its hybrid gasoline and regenerating electric motor. So the future may still be bright for Corvette, despite the projected demise of the gasoline engine. Good night from Barrington.